Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tesla Life number 115. Here we are, September 11th, 2019. And yes, our co-host, Mr. Russell Frost, has returned to the nest. He's lost track of time. He doesn't know where he is, but he is with us on the show. How are you today, Mr. Frost?
I'm very good, thank you, Mr. Coughlin. It is very nice to be back, and I just, for everyone watching, enjoy your drinks tonight. I'm going to do my best for you because I care.
He's been saving it up for
he's had 2 weeks of saving time. Absolutely,
exactly. I got
like an 18-year-old who hasn't had a release for a couple weeks.
Oh my God!
Oh, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Also joining us from the always blurred background, Mr. Casey Green joins us from the DC area. How are you today, sir?
Well, it's not always blurred. When I clean up this mess, or get a new bookshelf, or move the existing bookshelf, it'll be unblurred.
It's like a scene in a movie where you're in heaven.
It's
Just waiting room.
People floating by in the background. It's great. It's a fabulous background. We only wish that we could all have the blurred background, Casey. It's just jealousy talking.
It is. Because
and last but not least,
did it, and the PC does it.
Mr. Fusco joins us from Southwest Missouri. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing very well, thanks. I wish I had, a big waterfall in the background for you guys. I couldn't make that happen today.
Yeah, really,
okay.
What's
You've got 6.5 days to make it work for next week. So go ahead. Start on tomorrow. Yep. Absolutely.
All doctors had a waterfall in the background.
I do have Uluru in my background.
That's nice.
Good, right?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. That is something. Absolutely. That is something.
It's a lot of something.
It's something, all right.
And we're not going any further with that, are we? No. No, we're not. First story on the docket this week is a little share that I've got, and we'll see if we can make. Of course, again, we're using Skype. Only the third show in that's worked, so we're trying to see if we can share the screens here. Screen share.
Uh-oh.
And we'll make it full screen.
Wow, look at that.
We'll click on this thing. And boom! I think I'm sharing full screen.
I think you are.
Okay. This is version 10, a demonstration of the visualization of traffic that is new with version 10. So as you can see, this kind of looks like the old one, but there's a perspective that you can now swipe on the screen and move the visualization to a different viewpoint. Here it goes. Oh, he stopped it. There it is. So you've got this sideways view. I don't know if this is even useful.
Yeah, that's my question. It's cool
when you're parking,
but why?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, and of course something new. But man, I don't know if I could see. Why on earth would I take my finger and move it so that it looks different?
It now shows oncoming traffic as oncoming traffic rather than traffic that's moving backwards towards you.
But I'm more talking about the different viewpoint.
I guess the different viewpoint. That's something that you Model 3 people will get to use. But this different viewpoint, I think it'll be useful when you're parking the car or doing any sort of maneuvers.
But I'm not going to be fucking with the screen when I'm parking my car.
But if you want to make sure it fits, and like say there's like you want to make sure there's something in your blind spot maybe, and especially if they turn on video in addition to that. Tesla vehicles all over the world.
This is going to be one of those cool things that when version 10 gets uploaded, I'm going to excitedly run out to my garage and drive around and play with all the new stuff and then never do it again.
And then crash into a neighbor's trash bin because you were trying to move the screen in a different orientation as you were driving.
Would you wish that on him?
I don't. Who asked for this feature? Is this like fart mode? I mean, like
I don't know if anyone asked for it.
I have a feeling that this is
something that showed up.
I have a feeling this is laying the groundwork for something else in the future.
Maybe.
So right now it's like a whole lot of not that useful, but coming up, you'll be able to do something with it.
Oh,
Well, that's an optimistic view. I am not sure. We'll just stop sharing
this show
here.
could end really quickly, kids.
Back. I don't know. It's kind of interesting that you would like. I just can't see that you'd want to be concentrating on that as you're driving. Certainly, as Casey mentioned, maybe a parking thing, possibly. But man, being able to grab that as you're driving, probably no. I won't be touching it to spin a different view as I'm driving. But
How about this? Your car is fully self-driving. You're bored. You can spin that shit around.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait till the car's fully self-driving first, and then we can see. Yeah, and
I've
see if that
got
would be
a
the case.
tidbit on that. I don't know if
Okay.
it's public or not.
Well,
So
are
we
you
won't
gonna
say where I heard it from.
Are you going to spill the beans or not?
So we won't say where I heard it from because I don't know if it's public or not. But some people are being called up by VIN number to get their hardware installed. We'll leave it at that.
Really?
There what installed?
Hardware.
Ooh.
So these would be people with version 2.5 or 2?
People without version 3.0 hardware
Okay, you're being.
are being called up by VIN.
Quite
Would this be S's, X's, or 3s?
And when you
People
say
without version 3.0 hardware are being called up by their VIN number to their
So,
local service center.
how many people, Casey? Do you have any idea?
That I don't know.
I mean,
but
do we?
when it's your turn, your service center will call you and say, "Hey, come on down."
Okay.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, Evan, is that something you're going to get?
Yeah.
And Casey?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
That was like the first thing I paid for.
Interesting. Okay.
They had it on. It was on the car at pickup because I was afraid that if something happened to the car and insurance replaced it, they would consider that to be an accessory and would not replace it unless it was on the window sticker. So I made sure it was on.
Ah, that's why you jumped on it.
That was part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, our next story Casey has, it's a little bit about a production line in China.
Yes.
Where?
So the China Gigafactory is online and the production line is starting to hum. And there's a little tidbit about phase 2 has already started.
And what is phase 2 at Gigafactory?
Hell if I know, but we think it's a battery factory.
So I wasn't sure what phase 2 was. It was like, is that like part deuce of the master plan or something else? I'm not sure, but I saw that in the article from Teslarati as well. So that was it. Oh, and by the way, the video we had just shown came from Tesla Letter, so wanted to give them credit for posting that on Twitter.
Yeah, it seems to be an expansion. Like they said, that they're still running the pile drivers. So I don't know if this is going to be a separate facility or if they're already going to expand this thing, which is still incredible because it's now that it's complete, that makes it the largest contiguous by volume factory, right? Because Boeing and them were fighting on like technicalities as far as which one was the biggest in which areas.
Well,
Right.
you're talking about the Chinese Gigafactory, though, right?
But isn't the Chinese Gigafactory the same size as the
No.
Finnish? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Poquito.
It's smaller. Yeah.
I know it's a different length and width. Like it's
Even the internal mass square footage is less. It's
Okay.
not near what's happening in Nevada. Not even close.
So then maybe it's only big enough for the cars, and then they do need a separate facility for the batteries.
Well, it's again version 2. Not sure what that's about, but what's nice to see is that the story that we had last week about a one car being produced and actually displayed that was made at the Gigafactory 3. It's good to see that line is now becoming more and more automated, and they're getting ready, obviously, to do a full run so they can start producing cars in mass. And there's a nice shot that Russell has shared with us of the alien dreadnought. We've heard that before. in starting to be
0.10.
put in place. Yes.
Those are Lego people.
So, are these also named after X-Men? Like, do they have like Mandarin Chinese X-Men names?
Excellent question. Excellent question. And another question: what are those two black megaliths at the end of the factory that we saw before? They're still there. They look like that the monolith from 2001.
They do.
That's what it is, dude.
It's the new design aesthetic.
That explains the caveman banging on sticks out front of the monolith. Yes.
That's why it's an alien dreadnought.
Mhm.
Next, on to North America.
Oh, no.
And some new job postings happened recently. And what was posted was a battery cell manufacturing job in Fremont, as well as some related battery manufacturing in Colorado, which is a new section, I guess, or a new. Why Colorado? I do not know. Is there something to do with? Obviously, Tesla has a presence in Colorado, but I didn't know they had a manufacturing presence.
Chasing the tax credits like every
Don't
other
they have a
manufacturer.
gigantic, underutilized Gigafactory in Nevada.
They have room, apparently, yes.
Nevada, New York.
But yet they have
China?
decided to do something else in Colorado.
Mhm.
What?
So, did Maxwell have a facility in Colorado? That would make immediate sense if that's the case.
Excellent point. I'm not sure if that is the case. Russell believes no.
Well, then I stand by my previous conjecture of corporate chasing tax
Maybe
credits.
chasing tax credits. Maybe chasing state-run tax credits, possibly.
Right. Yes.
Okay. But we had all, of course, speculated at this that Tesla would be at one point producing their own batteries, which they're currently sourcing from Panasonic and now in China sourcing from others as well. But we've always thought that there is certainly was the progression of Tesla would most likely be to take their own battery production under their wing and run with it. And this could be the start of something along those lines, or at least get them getting into a position where they're starting to explore it in more detail.
So Tesla says that Panasonic is building the cells to Tesla spec in their factory. Is the Chinese setup the same, or are they buying finished cells from LG and others? Or are they building them to Tesla spec as well?
I am under this understanding that Tesla still has an agreement with Panasonic in China as well as other manufacturers.
Mhm.
So I believe that some batteries are going to be made at the actual Gigafactory 3, and some will be shipped in. I don't know the quantities, I don't know the percentages, but that's what I believe is going on in China.
So the story we did about the other manufacturers would probably be just finished cells then, and then Panasonic would be their assembly partner until they.
That would
whatever's going
certainly
on?
make sense. So unsure, but this story here is about Tesla doing it themselves.
Yes.
So they will be moving forward with making some of these cells themselves. And again, to what extent, we don't know. These are just job openings that they're trying to fill. So we will see as time moves along, and if this becomes a bigger part of what they're doing.
It'll be interesting to see how they differ from the cells manufactured by Panasonic, Samsung, and LG on Tesla's behalf.
Yep.
Is this where the extra cobalt batteries are being made?
I would think this would be on the ones where they're going for less cobalt, Russell.
No, but the new battery formulation thing that was leaked out is like 30% more cobalt than previous iteration.
Whoops.
Okay, we'll talk about that another time.
Next story is about over to the UK, where Tesla Model 3 has jumped onto the best-selling car list, regardless of any type of car, regular gasoline cars and electric cars. Tesla becomes the number 3 best-selling car in the UK last month. So certainly a jump in the standings. And of course, always a little bit surprising to the other car manufacturers, I'm sure, as Tesla jumps up into the number 3 position in the UK amongst all cars. So interesting. We've seen this happen in other countries as well, and it's not brand new, but this is new to the UK, which of course was one of the last countries in the rollout list to receive the car. So
that whole wrong steering wheel side thing.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to our story from last week when we were talking about how right-hand versions of the car were being spotted being trucked across the U.S. And headed to Philadelphia so they could pop on a ship and get over to the U.K. in a faster order. So,
yeah. And then there was actually news about that came out after we finished recording, where they basically confirmed that's what they're doing. They're shipping them by truck from California to the East Coast ports to go to Europe.
Yep.
So I don't think the other manufacturers are likely to actually be surprised by this. I mean, I think it's pretty common that we've seen this big initial surge in sales. And, I think what will be telling is what do sales look like 6 months and 12 months from now compared to those other vehicles? Is it something sustainable that there's a sea change and there's a long-standing desire for this and people are going to be changing over and the electric vehicle infrastructure is going to grow along with it, or is this just the initial surge of those that have been eager to get them and they finally got them delivered because Tesla's pushing the end of quarter deliveries? So,
well, I mean, like when you look at our news from Norway, I mean, it seems that in the places where it is popular, it holds on quite well.
Yeah, but Norway's a great example.
It's not a good example, no.
That's a unique.
It is
a country in the way that they approach electric vehicles, both with their tax discounts and their infrastructure and things. So, I think let's look and see. I think UK is actually a really interesting option because I don't think they do have a great EV infrastructure right now, albeit it's a significantly smaller country and it doesn't need to be quite as extensive. But a lot of people live in the cities and street park and things like that. So having home charging is going to be a lot more challenging of a situation than where every house in the U.S. has a 3-car garage and, carport and all that. It's a very different situation. So I'm curious to see what happens there. Obviously I hope it's sustainable and I hope that they have widespread and continuous adoption, but I'd love to revisit this in 6 months and see what's going on.
So speaking on the charging is, as we've mentioned, I'm currently in an apartment complex and I park in a parking garage. So about once or twice a week, I actually visit the Supercharger because it's faster than the 1 mile an hour I get from the outlet after I run my extension cord. And I'm seeing familiar faces and there's the frosted blue Model 3, there's the white Model X and the blue Model X, and it seems that I'm not the only one who lacks sufficient home charging here, and so their street parking and multifamily situation might be quite similar. Everything is shutting down on me. What's up with that? And then to the other point is Volvo had mentioned this morning, or they had been reported that they had mentioned this morning about how well Tesla is doing and how they're actually going to take a different angle to compete. So I'm curious to see what we see from the other manufacturers on this angle.
Yep. All right. Next story comes from Niagara Falls. And of course, Russell's the closest one to that, so he's got that story.
What's Niagara Falls? No. So, Niagara Falls, one-time home of a Nikola Tesla power plant. What could the connection
and a statue of Nikola Tesla.
And a statue of Nikola Tesla. Well, oddly enough, there's this little European car company named Porsche. Now, maybe you haven't heard of them. Maybe you have. I don't know. They make cars, and some people buy them. And they debuted their first fully electric car, the Taycan, That's Taycan, Taycan. That's the right way to say it. Trust me, I did my research here. Electric, our friend Seth Weintraub at Electric covered it. I assume he was at the launch, or at least knew somebody who was at the launch. And in the Electric story, there's a lot of, shall we say, poo-pooing of the Taycan, which is not the same as the Model S.
Different
Go
markets.
figure.
Hence the different name.
Hence the different name, hence the different company and the country of origin and all of that. I'll allude to it and then I'll let Casey and Evan jump in. But I think a lot of the pissing over specs on this is just really childish. You can argue that it's really the only sensible argument here is it's a significantly different vehicle and it costs significantly different. It's very much more expensive. It starts at $150,000. So the comparisons, I think, are mostly misplaced. I think the media has jumped on this because they love adding anything they can before the word killer.
Yeah.
So, it used to be all about Apple killers and Prius killers, and now it's all about Tesla killers. That is the link bait du jour of the times we live in. And a lot of people have been putting this car in that position. And I think that's a completely wrong way to look at it. I get that it gathers eyeballs and people want to see a fight, but this is a different car. The only thing that it has in common with the Tesla is that it's a luxury car made specifically for luxury car buyers.
And it's got 4 doors and a almost 100 kilowatt hour battery and a windshield.
And it has wheels and yeah. Is it better than anything Tesla makes? I wouldn't, even if I had been in Niagara Falls, I wouldn't make that judgment at this point. I understand the journalists that were there didn't get to drive. They got to ride.
It's not the same thing.
But I also understand that Porsche in Germany has started production on this car. They will sell about 40,000 a year. That is a limited run for them. And what they feel that they can sell confidently in this car, which I'm sure there are 40,000 millionaires out there that really want 150K electric Porsche. I like this because it's significantly different.
Yeah.
So in what ways are you finding that it's significantly different enough that to support your argument that we shouldn't really be comparing it spec to spec?
Well, I mean, if nothing else, the price.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, I mean, just because it costs more, we shouldn't be comparing them?
Well, I mean, I want to say that, in the entire electric field that we've seen so far, other than the Hyundai and Kia twins, are there any 2 electric cars that are actually in the same market, or at least marketed to the same people? Not like individuals, but like literally, hey, these are the same. Like I haven't seen any.
Is that what you're saying? You're just saying that this is targeted to a different audience, Russell?
I think Porsche, and forgive me for trying to channel, their brain here, but I think Porsche built a Porsche. I don't think they were trying to take Tesla's market share. I think they wanted to build an electric Porsche that would appeal to Porsche fans. And if that gets them back some market share that maybe Tesla was nibbling into, or even bunching out on, whatever, I'm just not sure what value there is in saying, here's a ludicrous Model S and here's a Taycan and here's what's better. You know what I mean? Like the Tesla's quicker. That's great. I haven't even seen Tesla fans arguing that this one's going to run more laps than most Teslas can because of what Porsche intentionally did in the design for this vehicle.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that's unfair. I posted a link in our chat. I don't know if maybe we can include that when we post the video on YouTube by Marquise Brownlee. And he did, I thought, a very good job of kind of breaking down the similarities and differences, and kind of how it would appeal to different markets. And I've got a good friend that's a physician that is a Porsche nut. I mean, I don't know how many he's owned. He currently owns at least two. He has already put his deposit down for a Taycan. Wants me to come with him when he goes and configures it at the dealership and stuff like that. So I get that, and he is willing to pay that premium because he's a Porsche guy. The analog clock on the dash gives him a Woody. I mean, there is something about the Porsche that they love, right? And I think this is designed to probably replicate that feel of driving a Porsche on the road around the track. It's got this ginormous brakes that take up half the wheel. It's got this I can't remember what they call it, but the way that the wheels adjust in cornering, I can't remember what that feature's called. All these really kind of cool sounding features that I think it's going to be a great driving experience, which is clearly not the focus of the Model S, right? Which is what everybody's comparing to. It's not. Model S wasn't designed to be that great sports car driving experience.
It's a sporty car. It's not a sports car.
Right, exactly. And so I think to that end, you're right that it's a little bit different of a target audience of where they're going to. At the same time, I don't think it's completely unfair. Porsche took 8 years to develop this thing. And you're telling me in that 8 years, they couldn't figure out how to make this thing a couple tenths faster in a 60 or quarter than the Model S.
They did the best they could. They put a transmission in it, like a 2-speed transmission. They're the only EV I've heard of that's like not home built that has a transmission.
And shift gears on. Which that's probably a topic for another discussion. But I'm fascinated to see how that works out after all the difficulty that Tesla had when they attempted to do the same thing. So I don't know. I am thrilled that there is a high-end competitor in this market, right? I mean, bring them on.
Rising tide lifts all boats.
Absolutely, man. I'm thrilled, and you won't get a big argument. This thing sucks out of me.
I know what I think for a daily driver, but I mean, this. Right. If I had a chance to drive this, I could see where I would put it.
100%.
I would not be my daily driver.
I intend to drive it, but I think for somebody that's maybe not money falling out of their pockets rich, but well enough to do, say, an ER physician with a physician wife, and they're looking at buying an electric car that they want to be quick and fun and stuff, the Taycan's not even going to come into the equation.
Of course not. I don't think Porsche had any. Porsche builds race cars. Mm-hmm. Okay? For people, for weekend warriors.
Yeah. Well, Evan brought up a good point with the physician. Like you said, he probably only ever looks at Porsche when he's looking at a new car. My wife, she's Thai. And in her community, if it doesn't have a Mercedes-Benz peace sign on the hood or the propeller from BMW, they think it's garbage. My car costs twice as much as some of her friends with their nice cars, and they think that my car is shit. And they're like, "Oh, it's got leather. It's nice." I'm like, "All right, buddy."
I do want to point out that this is Porsche's first kick at the can. Tesla's now in a 4th generation and moving into a 5th generation drivetrain, batteries, motors, all of it. Porsche is their first kick. And you know what? No matter what, I don't think you can get to perfection the first thing out of the gate. You got to be in the game a number of years, a number of iterations in order to get to a position that Tesla has already been in and surpassed. So I just hope that they have the fortitude that they can stay involved in this for a number of generations to get a better car and get better iterations of what they can build upon. Like Russell said, they're only making 40,000 vehicles up front. There's part of that reason is not that they couldn't sell 40,000. It's because they probably didn't want to make 40 more than that because they know they could do better and they know the next iteration and drawings are already on the board. So
And look at everybody who's done that. The Chevy Volt 1 and 2, completely different cars. The Tesla Model S and the Tesla original Roadster, completely different cars. The Volvo Polestar 1 and Polestar 2, they knew even before the thing left the factory that it's going to be
it was to be a very limited run and would be surpassed very quickly.
Yeah.
So that type of thing could be happening as well. So, and that kind of dovetails into our next story, which Evan has about a particular racetrack in Germany.
Yeah, it does dovetail well because one of the things that Porsche did, was it right before or right after the announcement? I don't quite remember now. Is they took the Taycan to Nurburgring in Germany and did a lap on there and put down a hell of a fast lap. And so that was used kind of as pretty heavy leverage, comparing themselves to Tesla, I believe. At least that was the whole point of it, even though you want to say they don't want to compete. But
I honestly, if you
happen each other, both the manufacturers have been in it. Like, they won't come out. Well, Porsche did come out and say it, but Tesla's not come out and say it. But they've been throwing jabs at each other.
They have been.
I'm not even a Porsche fan, but I find it unfathomable that Porsche gives two shits about what Tesla does.
Porsche and Audi and Jag have been trying to ride the coattails of all the free media coverage that Tesla gets. Like Audi and Jag have been parking at the Superchargers. Porsche's been doing these free jabs and taking the free ride of the Tesla killers. They're not turning down the free advertising.
Right. So the Taycan ran a 742, which is pretty freaking fast, especially compared to the previous fast Model S time, which was around 10 minutes. And the video of that is kind of sickening for a Tesla fan because you could really see the car bogging down as the battery started overheating and restricting maximum acceleration. And so one of the things that Porsche has prided itself in the Taycan is that it can do this repeated accelerations. And there's a video out of somebody did 30, I think, quarter mile accelerations with minimal brakes in between. And they say it doesn't fatigue. They built their battery so that it drives like a regular car. It doesn't lose any power or responsiveness as you continue to drive. So in response to that, very shortly after that, Elon announced that they were going to take a Model S to Nurburgring next week. And so that, I think, is this week, to lay down as good a time as they can and see if they can top the Taycan. And I don't know if that'll happen or not, but their little ringer is they got a Formula One driver by former world champion Nico Rosberg volunteered to be the test driver of the S on the track. So I think if the car they put down there is capable, it's going to happen.
It was interesting how the Formula One driver jumped into the mix almost immediately and volunteered his services to Elon directly.
I thought that was really cool.
So they're going to do that. And what was announced today in a follow-up to this story, or a close thing, was that someone had said to Elon and posted on Twitter, why not bring the Roadster 2? And Elon replied quickly back, next year. So he wants to bring the Roadster 2 and run it on that same track as well. So
why wouldn't they have brought it this year?
It's not done. Remember,
probably.
Every time they seem to have a prototype, they seem to be running ice water through the thing externally.
Okay.
But also this morning, Elon announced that the Model S had set a new record for four-door sedans on Laguna Seca.
That's right. Yeah. So it broke
another jab back and forth
on the track in Monterey, California. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Another related story that Evan has some personal experience with is the small country of Iceland. What happened with them, Evan?
Yeah, so a little 350,000 population Iceland who get almost all their power from geothermal sources finally became an official site for Tesla, and they're going to be opening a showroom there. And I'm kind of excited about that. There's one road basically in Iceland. It's the ring road. It goes all the way around the loop, and you can do it in a few days, and that's pretty cool. So they can basically drop so the image that's on the screen now, 4 superchargers and essentially cover the whole country, because nobody goes anywhere in the middle because it's all glaciers and volcanoes. And there's actually all along that same highway, most of the gas stations also have level 3 chargers located at them. There's these bright orange stands. Actually, I should have put a picture up that I took when I was there. So, there's already a bit of an infrastructure built in that can handle. Now, obviously, I don't think they're going to be selling 30,000 cars a year in a country of 350,000 people. But I think it's great that they'll have some there, and it's a great spot to charge electrically, because gas ran around $8 to $9 per gallon when we were there. So it makes a lot of sense in a country that's got essentially unlimited electricity and very limited fossil fuel resources.
Exactly. So on that previous photo of Iceland, I think there's 3 superchargers, and the red one is actually the store.
Okay.
So you've got 3 that will cover the entire country. Evan, I have no clue. Do you know how large it would be from side to side on the island?
Miles, no. It took us about 2 days to drive from Reykjavik over to where you see Hoffen there. And they generally say it's doable in about a week to drive that entire ring road in good weather.
The ring road is 828 miles in length.
Yeah, but not exactly interstate.
No. Yeah, I would say that based on that timeline, that's no interstate. But I'm wondering, there must be, these are proposed supercharger sites that haven't been built yet, but this is proposed. I would assume that you could drive between 2 of the supercharger sites and fill up again, right? I'm assuming that.
Yeah. I would 828 miles. I do that every weekend.
Okay. All right. So yeah, broken up, I guess, evenly between, it'd be about 300 miles or a little bit less, 275, something like that.
Especially with the, existing infrastructure that they already have. I think the article says it's already like 15% of total car sales were EVs. And we saw quite a few EVs of various types while we were there last year. And I've actually got a video on my YouTube page of, it's a crappy nighttime video, but of a guy that had just a regular standard electric cord running out of his window of his house across the street, up the block for it had to be 4 car lengths at least, and had his car plugged in, charging one night. So there is definitely desire. It is much, much cheaper to drive electric than it is gas or petrol or diesel or whatever you want out there. Yeah. So
yeah, you do what you have to do when it comes to running extension cords. Absolutely.
That is 1,332 kilometers for our metric folks.
Okay. All right.
Well, hey, I mean, I've got a 100-foot extension cord. You do what you got to do.
That's right. If you got to traverse an interstate, you got to traverse an interstate. That's just all there is to it.
So did they directionally bore, or did they raise it, or is it sitting on the pavement?
No, it was just laying across the pavement. And apparently they reel it in at night or in the morning and stuff. But it was it's a smallish side road in Reykjavik, but it was downtown Reykjavik, so cars drove across it. And I guess they just replaced their electric cord every once in a while.
I guess so.
Very nice. Very nice. Wow. Next story, we've got the Inside EVs posted a story about why Tesla's second half of 2019 will be even better than their first half. So this is a story talking about, of course, getting close to the Tesla projection of 360,000 vehicles in the year of 2019. The guidance was between 360 and 400,000 vehicles. And the first half, obviously, they didn't get to that halfway point of 180,000 vehicles. They got less than that. So this article indicates about the production in China about to come online, and the second largest market in the world for Tesla, which is Europe as a whole, is another portion of what they believe will be a bigger bonanza for Tesla in the second half of the year. So more ships, as we talked about maybe 3 episodes ago, are now being directed to Europe. Less are going to China because China is about to be coming online. And Russell, stop smiling into camera.
I know it's gruesome, isn't it? It's just horrifying.
Who is that guy? So there's this story is talking about how the second half is going to be better because of the demand in Europe and of course the coming online of China, which I think if they're pushing the China thing, it's, you know, we're getting to the point where the factory's about to come alive. There was a report just today about the substation that's going to provide the power for that entire plant is coming online before the end of September. So that doesn't give them a lot of time, of course, to start pushing out cars. That's going to give them basically 3 months until the end of the year. So, but as we know, Tesla loves to push up against a deadline.
Just rag their employees.
It never ends.
End
End of the quarter always seems to sneak up the same amount of time, 12 weeks in, but somehow they're always pushing up against a deadline. So it would be Tesla unless we were trying to make miracles happen in the last week and a half. That's just the way it is.
Yes. I saw this article. It's actually a series. It's one part, 2 part, and I didn't have time to read it all, but I did skim them. And I saw the gist of what you're talking about. It's like, so what? They haven't met half of it yet. They'll either get really close or they'll blow it out of the water. It's the way they do.
So what?
It's only money. It's only money, Casey. It's only money.
If they miss, they might miss by much, and then the beginning of the next quarter, well, probably not the next quarter because it's Q1, but by the time they reach this point next year, that number will look infinitesimally small compared to what their actual goal was. And so it's like, no big deal.
So, well, we'll see. We'll see. They're pushing up against the deadline. The number, is it going to be there? Is it not going to be there? We're only 3 months away from figuring that out. But we shall see. We shall see.
Oh, it is the beginning of a new quarter, isn't it? Or is it the end of the quarter?
It's the end of the quarter now, right?
Okay.
End of September is the end of the third quarter. So 1 quarter to go after that to reach that 360 goal, which was the minimum on guidance. Next story. Overnight, last night, there was an update in the referral program.
Oh, yes.
So there's now a 200 mile.
2,000.
I'm sorry.
2,000, yes.
2,000 mile referral code offering, and I am going to share it just for fun. There we go. And yes, that's my referral code. If you want to use it, please feel free. But they've gone to 2,000 for the referral code, and of course that is good for. Of course, is that Casey's was blurred. So
that's hilarious.
So as of yesterday, this is good until the end of September. So if you're
just showing you what you get the 2,000 miles. I get 2,000 miles, or Mark or Evan or your friend on the street. Just use somebody's freaking code. Don't waste it. Like I had a buddy who bought a car without any code. He didn't get the free supercharging miles, and anyway, so
I agree.
Everybody's lost on it.
It's helped you, right? I mean, if that's us, that's great. If not, if you got a friend that gave you a test drive, do it. It's this is, even with this doubling, this is about an $80 to $100 value max. So this isn't like
don't put $100 on the table. Don't give it to Tesla.
Absolutely, but it's not one of those things that
$200 because your friend gets $100 and you get $100.
Exactly. So if you're considering buying it, it's another sweetener that you've got 2,000 instead of 1,000 free supercharging miles available to you and the purchaser. So whoever purchases it, the referral code also gets the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
Next, pedestrian warning. Who was going to talk about the pedestrian? I believe that was Casey. Yeah,
that was me because I hate. I hate having extra noise in the cities when cars are idling, and I get that this is for a good cause, for the blind, but you're still responsible as the driver to not run over the blind people. So I don't see
What's up with that?
It's been that way for a long time now.
Okay.
Longer than I've been sucking wind. But the reverse sound, I wasn't as annoyed by as the what they called the white noise for the forward sound. So a while ago, Eric from Derek, he showed on his Model 3 there was a grill for a speaker, but when they took the cladding down, there was no speaker on the other side. But Elon had tweeted a while ago that they had started to put the speaker in a few months ago. And apparently, all cars built since September 1st worldwide have it. And they make noise now when you're going less than 19 miles an hour.
Have yet to hear the noise, although there was a recording that someone put out of two noises. I guess that was a front and reverse noise. There's two different noises, whether you're going forwards or backwards.
Drive and reverse, and then the reverse actually reminded me of the Nissan Leaf when you first put it in reverse. It actually beeps.
Okay. So the noisemaker is now in play on the Model 3 and has been since the 1st of September. What about the S and the X? Do you guys have any information on those?
The laws in Europe and the US state that they should be similar for the manufacturer, the model year, and the model. So they actually are legally allowed to have a different sound for each model. But the question is, are they going to go like Ford would do and do like a corporate, or I guess Audi really, because they're the ones who had like the keyboard and they were like, oh, this is what the electric revs will sound like. To see if they'll actually do a corporate theme or if they'll do something to make it evoke that model. Like the Roadster will be kind of menacing and the Model X will be kind of sedate because it's the family sedan, and the Model 3 we've heard. Russell, are you able to play those into the stream? Okay, well, I figured you're the one with the audio setup. My audio setup is still in a box somewhere. So
what I was speaking about with some of our Twitter followers, and that is, of course, at the Tesla Life. You can follow us on Twitter. Was about the possibility of Tesla maybe introducing some sort of a number of themes that you could pick to play a noise.
That was another item that was in those laws for both continents, is that you actually can do like the old cell phones where there's some ringtones that are built in and you can pick between them.
Right.
But again, they have to be consistent.
You have to have some sort of regulation about maybe the decibel, the noise, sound coming out of it. But wouldn't it be cool to have a number of different sounds that you could actually select from, and depending on what you're feeling, you could pick a certain sound. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, it would be, and so it would have to be the same per manufacturer, per model year. So those manufacturers that do model years like Ford and Porsche and Audi, Jaguar, every year they could do something different if they wanted to.
Yeah.
And then there was talk of another type of hacking where people would defeat these devices. As well as, while we're talking hacking, why not? Only the manufacturer is required to do these sounds. So what's to stop me from making the Jetsons noise if I were to purchase another vehicle while these things are still required?
Right. And actually, we have a friend at one of our association meetings that came out with this Hyundai Iconic, and he had a hack on his iPhone that would allow him to play whatever noise he wanted out of his speaker. So he was playing the Flubbermobile, he was playing the Jetson speeder, he was doing Star Wars noises, whatever he wanted. Yeah, all that stuff is available, I'm sure, and will be played with extensively, I'm sure, once it's been introduced.
Mm.
Our next story is about a fifth line assembly.
What?
Is
GA5?
Currently,
GA5
GA5 is under construction in Fremont, California, and of course, it is thought to be the Model Y line that they're putting together. So, again, how they squeezed it in, we don't know.
Tense.
Might be another sprung structure going on, or a partial sprung structure, because
It's hanging
of course
from the roof.
there were not a lot of options available. But what we were told at the beginning, that when Fremont was being considered for the Model Y, was of course they were planning on moving some of the storage outside of the factory into sprung structures. So maybe inventory of parts and things of that nature could be stored in a different area, opening up floor space for other pieces to make room for an actual assembly line. So that could be the case. But it is apparently now starting construction to get that fifth General Assembly up and running and ready for the Model Y. Exciting news.
I see at least 6 tents in this photo that you have in the back channel that we have. Some of them are small, some of them are large.
Yep.
But here's the catch. What if these are actually to meet Model 3 demand, and the Model Y is actually not even part of GA5?
Wow, that's a different spin on things.
There was a whole 2-part article on how they need to reach their numbers.
Right. So as Casey was saying earlier, it doesn't really matter. They're just numbers. Now you're saying that maybe they built another assembly line just to get those numbers.
Yes. But but Elon has always said, they share a significant amount of parts between the Model 3 and the Model Y, and realistically, the same with the Model S and the Model X, but even more so, the new cars share
70%,
parts.
I believe it was the number, 70%.
Like 73, something like that, yeah. So Model S and Model X were able to run down line 2 together. I think line 1 was for the most part usually just the Model S, and line 3 and then line 4 are all Model 3. And so line 5 is probably going to be Model 3, and then whenever they're ready, the Model Y will start coming on down at least line 5, if not all 3 of the new lines.
Interesting. So we'll have to see as this gets a little closer, but progress is being made, and those with Model Y orders start getting excited because your car is going to be made.
Put your $1,000 down now.
Not tomorrow, not next week, but it's coming. It's coming. Our final story of the evening is me pointing to this sign behind me.
Uh-oh.
There's a sign about National Drive Electric Week behind me. Here in Cambridge, Ontario, which is part of the Kitchener-Waterloo area, we are holding a huge event that's going to be electric cars. We've got the largest meetup in southwestern Ontario. It's the largest NDEW, National Drive Electric Week, event in all of Canada.
Wow.
The biggest. We've got over 150 people registered already, and we've
That's
got
amazing.
almost 70 cars registered at this point. We still got a week and a half to go. So we always find that the last week is crazy with the amount of signups. So we're anticipating it'll be our largest event ever. And we've got free electric car drives with no salesman. So you can come take a spin and not be pestered about purchasing anything. We've got EV talks. We've got EV presentations. We've got a number of sustainable vendors, solar, electric utilities. We've got it all. So if you're in the area, please feel free to drop by. It's a free event. NDEW Cambridge 2019, happening on September 21st between 11 and 3 p.m. So love to see you if you're in the area.
How many did you have registered at this point last year?
At this point last year, we were under 100 people and
Wow.
about 58 cars, I believe it is. So
Wow.
we're above that already. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And,
So
and this
go
is
ahead.
this is National Drive Electric Week, but it is international. So if you are unable to attend Mark's event, the clubs I'm in, Charleston's having one, DC is having one, Atlanta is having one. I think we're probably going to Atlanta for ours, and Charlotte, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. But they're everywhere. Look.
Look up Google National Drive Electric Week, and you can see all the events that are all over North America happening within the next 2 weeks. It's between the 14th and the 22nd of September, or all the events are happening.
There's probably one within a half hour of you.
Absolutely.
Depending on where you live, obviously. You could live on a mountain in Australia. Good luck.
Also, if you're watching the show at this point and you haven't already, give us a thumbs up. We need that thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Like what are you possibly waiting for? Subscribe, give us a number, follow us on Twitter at the Tesla Life, follow us on Facebook, the Tesla Life #1. And with that, how about some shout outs? Mr. Green, what have you got to shout out about today?
So I've got this YouTube channel, right? YouTube.com/KCGreen, KACEYGREEN. And I've been going through my footage now that the computer is back. Woo! And I've got some goodies on the way for you guys.
Excellent. So those will be published shortly, you're saying?
Yes.
All right. So will we have at least one video by next week?
Maybe.
Can't get more definitive than that.
Maybe on the spot than that. That's all I'm going to do. Mr. Fusco, any shout-outs for this evening?
I'm shoutless.
He's shoutless. He's shoutless until he turns off the video feed. Then look out.
Sports. Link for sports.
Mr. Frost, how about a shout-out from you? Yes, you.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Hey, I want to say that if you, you should be subscribed and you should be ringing the bell to get the notifications for us on YouTube. Of course, you can find us on Facebook too. We're at the Tesla Life #1. That's at the Tesla Life #1 on Facebook. Do friend us there. Of course, the important one is at the Tesla Life on Twitter. That's where all the action happens. That's the center of our maelstrom of Tesla news and fun stuff. So do subscribe, do follow us there if you're not already. You're watching this, you probably are, but maybe you have some friends you could suggest that to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can watch
news there first.
Yeah. And I have this little thing called What Drives Us that some of these other guys are involved in too. And that's going to be our first new show in 2 weeks later on tonight. So thank you.
Good. Very good. All right, so that will be an evening. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, of course, to you for watching the show. We always appreciate that. And what we'll do is we'll cue the music and see you next week and find out what's going on in the Tesla life. Good night, everybody. Enjoy your week.